What is this? What is this?
This is the Young God.
Sweet.
This episode is brought to you by Avo Creative, a creative company that builds brands and people. To learn more, visit the link in the description of this episode. Hey Young God gang. Today I'm going to tell you the story of how I got my very first client for Avo Creative, proud sponsors of this podcast. It's a story about luck, confidence, creativity, and the desire to be useful. It's a really good story, one that will take you behind the scenes of my approach to professional work, how I add value to the clients I serve, and where my head is at on a number of things like work-life balance, ambition, and relationships. This episode is new territory for me because I have never gotten to the details of my other professional endeavors on the podcast before. But season 6 is full of firsts, and I'm really leaning into it. I decided to tell this story because a couple of months ago, my very first client, someone I haven't worked with or heard from in years, sent me a text. First thing in the morning, the text said,
Hey man, we are 6 years old today. Thank you for your support in the beginning. We're still thriving off the foundation you laid for us. Please forward a delivery address. I would like to send you something. Cheers.
Short, sweet, and most unexpected. As I said, it's been ages since we last worked together, or talked, or even saw each other, and yet he remembered. So you can imagine the sort of impact that inspires such goodwill. Word to the Philosopher's Stone. If you know, you know. But that's not even the reason I decided to tell this story. 2 weeks after I received the message, I learned that this same client had nominated me and the podcast for one of the awards I won last year. I had no idea. This fact came up randomly in a conversation with a stranger. The person giving me the gist that I already knew. It was news to me, fam. And so it dawned on me that this guy who first took a chance on me, who saw my value from day one, who gave me my very first opportunity, had been keeping tabs on my progress all this time. And not only that, he was still looking out for me, so much so that he put my name in for an award. Out of sight, but never out of mind. So many things have happened between then and now, career-wise. Many of them lost to memory, but as they say, you never forget your first. Except in this case, my first never forgot me. My name is Rodney Amalkache, and you are welcome to The Young God, a podcast for gods.
Yep. Stand back, gotta talk. Nigga, watch cost.
If you open The Young God on your podcast app and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll come across the very first episode titled, How I Transitioned from a Photographer to a Creative Strategist. If you tap play, you hear the story of why and how I became a brand strategist. Link in the description of this episode. Long story short, I was a badass professional photographer, but I felt my strengths were better suited to coming up with ideas and concepts and executing them. I wanted to lead the orchestra, not just be a part of the band. Then there's the fact that Don Draper from the TV show Mad Men inspired me to want to start my own creative agency, where I could solve holistic creative problems for others. You see, ideas flow like milk and honey in my mind. And with the way the economy was moving, I knew people would pay good money for someone who could generate and execute good ideas on the fly. If not me, then who, right? The transition happened in 2017. That period was pivotal in my life. That was around the time I was coming into my own as a god. I was beginning to develop the confidence to take what was then the biggest risk in my career, starting a creative agency. I took the leap, and Avo Creative was born. By 2018, I had done all the legal work of registering the company, opening a corporate and domiciliary account, creating an iconic logo, and all the other ceremony that goes into taking people's money legally. The next thing was to find an actual paying client, and hence begins my story. This is the story of how I got my very first client. It was December of 2017. A cool Saturday evening. That pre-Hamatan breeze was breezy. A former photography client invited me to their end-of-year party. It was huge. The who's who of Abuja were in attendance. The big boys, the movers and shakers. Everybody you want to rub shoulders with. And being the social butterfly that I am, I floated from person to person, meeting and greeting, mingling and tingling. I wasn't even looking for business. I was just really happy to be there. You see, I wasn't well known at the time. I wasn't a nobody. People just didn't know me at the time. Big difference. And so, in the midst of all that socializing, I struck up a conversation with the man who would end up being my first client. He was much older. He looked rich, like really rich. Not in a gaudy, showy way, but the details of his outfit told the story. He was unassumingly wealthy. I didn't know who he was when we started chatting, but I found out later that he was the owner of one of Abuja's biggest luxury brands. He simply introduced himself as a businessman with many interests. As it turned out, we had a lot in common. We were both Manchester United and Real Madrid fans. We were both Cristiano Ronaldo fans. We both had a taste for premium liquor and cigars. He was into philosophy and art, and we even had a hot debate about who was the better rapper between Lil Wayne and Jay-Z. Lil Wayne, obviously. We built rapport really quickly, and so he began to speak more freely. He talked about his businesses, the ones he inherited from his father and the ones he built himself. He had stories for days from when he was young, how he came up, how instrumental his wife was in his success, and what retirement might look like in 10 years. And then, he revealed that he owned a boutique hotel in Wuse too, one I was familiar with. It was at this point that my gears began to shift. Now here's the thing. Most doors in life are closed. So if you see one you want to enter, you better have an interesting knock. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, he's a consummate gentleman, he's a mover and shaker in the city, and he can clearly afford me. There's an opportunity here. I should offer my services. I saw nothing but upsides. So without hesitation, I asked him, can I be honest with you?
Sure.
You have a very nice establishment. Your hotel is a very pretty premium piece of property. But the branding is not good enough. It doesn't match it. It doesn't do it justice. I think you should bring me in to fix it. My guy looked at me. He smiled. He was like, oh yeah? What are the 3 things you'd fix? I said, I'd redo the logo, redo the messaging, and redo the website. To really sell my expertise, I gave him 2 more areas of improvement. I sold him on all the possibilities such a rebrand could do for him and his business. I painted a picture so vivid, he could not have guessed that I was a rookie. By the end of the evening, he was sold. Then he told me to be at the hotel at 9 a.m. on Monday, at which point I told him, I can't do it alone. And he was like, I'll have a team for you. Wow. Just like that, I had my foot in the door. I spent the weekend in disbelief that I was this close to doing my dream work with a dream client. I showed up at the hotel on Monday at 9 a.m. and they were already waiting for me. I was led to a boardroom with 2 other guys. One of them was a designer. He had flown in from Lagos. The other was his web developer. So this was a guy who was serious. We had a long conversation all morning, agreed to terms, and 3 days later he had signed off on my first check. It felt like big money at the time, but looking back, I underpriced myself. But that's cool because I wanted the experience more than I wanted the money. This project was going to be good for my confidence and my credibility. We got to work and I had his team doing the most. I elevated their approach to creative work. I raised their standard. They saw the brand through my eyes and they understood the assignment. I went above and beyond and then some. I made myself invaluable to this man. I delivered on promise after promise, and in 3 weeks, I presented to him the prettiest brand identity he had ever seen. He was impressed. He was amazed. Finally, something that reflected his taste, his vision, something that was really, really premium. He couldn't wait to do a brand launch party. Soon, he wanted my point of view on all his other businesses. He extended my contract by 3 months, and I was offered the role of Chief Creative Officer of all his brands. By the way, I picked the title myself, because that was my dream role as per Don Draper from Mad Men, and he let me have it. Such a class act, man. Oh, and by the way, you can follow the podcast on social media. Twitter, at I am the Young God. Instagram, at the Young God Pod. I regularly post exclusive content and updates on events, all kinds of things. You don't want to miss that, so please follow. Being Chief Creative Officer was both a privilege and a challenge. Other professionals usually work their way up from junior positions to the top of the ladder. Then there's people like me who come in, deliver so much value that it's impossible not to notice. I was tasked with not only building the creative vision and direction of all his brands, but I also had to be a good leader to the team. I also had to be a good follower to the person who cut my checks, the clients, the principal. But I was ready. I towed that line like a pro. Basically, this phase was an opportunity to practice all that I had learned in books like The 48 Laws of Power and Mastery. I knew everything I needed to know about office politics, team building, and leading. And the things I didn't know, I was easy to teach and ready to learn, ready to adapt. And it all worked out. So much so that my value to the client went beyond business. We became friends, or shall I say, we became friendly. In my mind, I didn't want to become too comfortable. He was happy to have me around, I could tell. You can tell when someone likes you as a person. When they light up when you walk into their office or you just make yourself known or heard or whatever. He would always tell me things, personal things about his life, his struggles, his problems with his wife, things relating to the staff and his businesses. He'd invite me to play golf with him at IBB Golf Course with his guys. And he would invite me to family functions, to church, to meetings I had no business being in. He showed me how good he could get. And I repaid that trust by bringing solutions, not problems. Insights, not insecurities.
Bust my brain! Bust my fucking brain!
If you can take care of your clients' needs, you're good. But if you can make them feel like they don't have any needs at all, you're golden. I learned that from Harvey Specter from the TV show Suits many years ago, and then I saw what he meant firsthand with that client. It was glorious. And that's why I say you shouldn't just watch stuff for entertainment. There's wisdom everywhere if you're looking, if your eyes are open. Fam, I was so effective, so creative, so in tune with his vision that he trusted me. He gave me free rein and let me be myself. Like a consultant, but without the super professional, work-only relationship. He knew I was rare out here. He knew that things don't usually work out this seamlessly with the average Nigerian. He knew that good help was hard to find. And I knew that serious, visionary, well-paying clients were hard to find as well. And so we made sure to treat each other with the proper respect and appreciation. That experience is what helped me build the team and the processes that I use with my clients to this day. And I am forever grateful. And now, a quick message from our sponsor, Avo Creative. Avo Creative is an Abuja-based creative agency that builds brands and people. It is owned by yours truly. We have a very particular set of skills acquired over a very long career, skills that make us a blessing for entrepreneurs, brands, and businesses. If you need creativity coaching, consultation, communication, and creative direction, we are looking for you, and we will find you, and we will be the creative right hand you need to be brilliant. You can learn more about what we do, what we've done, and who we've done it for via our website. There's a link in the description of this episode. Or you can contact me directly for a free consultation. All good things must come to an end. Around the 7th month, his need for me began to dwindle. And being the class act that he is, he started recommending me to his friends and clients. He spoke so highly of me that the trust and respect was there from day one. Reminds me of that story in the Bible where, before Jesus turned water to wine, Mary said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." That's the kind of trust and goodwill I generated with that man. And that was how I built the experience and the resume to go for much more prestigious projects. So as I recount this entire experience, you can see why he remembered me after all that time. You can see why he sent me a gift, which, by the way, was a very, very expensive bottle of cognac. brandy, the good stuff, the stuff that is so premium you don't get a hangover, you get a good night's rest instead. And the reason he sent me that specifically was because when we used to work together, he would talk business while sipping the finest liquor in his office, the kind that was not available in Nigerian stores, the kind that you can't find in the club. And he always joked that one day he will get me one. It took him 6 years, but he finally did it. Look at life. And that sums up the kind of guy he was, or is rather, and the kind of relationship we had. Recounting the experience for you has really made me appreciate how precious that time was. Because I haven't had that kind of relationship with the clients since. Simply because not all clients have that sort of vision, care, and culture. Not all clients see my value or deserve that level of emotional investment on my part. And most importantly, my larger life goals meant I had to be very careful not to overcommit to people. I don't play with my freedom. It's one of the reasons I could never do anything illegal on purpose. My freedom is very, very important to me. When it comes to work, I keep it professional, do my work, do it well, and keep it moving. This part of the episode is very crucial, and I need you to understand just how important my independence is to me. Okay? Right, so when people catch a big break, when they get a big client, make a lot of money, they double down, go all in, and hire more people so they can make more and more money to maintain an appearance or a lifestyle. Instead, I went in the other direction. I kept my team small and fluid while becoming more picky, more selective of the type of projects and clients I took on. At a young age, I had the intuition and self-knowledge to not be a prisoner of my own ambition, and that has saved me a lot of stress. It is vastly less stressful to be independent, and one is never independent when involved in a large structure with powerful clients. It's hard enough dealing with the uncertainty of life, talk less of constant exposure to human moods and politics. For me, success was exiting the rat race to gain greater control of my time and my life for sanity and peace of mind. Take my advice. Whatsoever you do not give anyone or anything that kind of power over you, especially money. Own your life. Don't give up your independence for money. That's the trap. That's how they get you. Small success and potential clients will rush you, and in a bid to make more money, you will commit to all kinds of people and projects and call it success. Next thing, you're spending 40% of your time 30,000 feet above sea level because you're taking business trips all over the world. That's not the flex many think it is. Half the time you're jet lagged, exhausted, barely able to enjoy the money you make and the places you visit. But at least you get to flex on social media, right? Then it's only a matter of time before reality sets in and you start to lose control of your life. Then it becomes our problem. You'll come on social media and complain about this and that, solicit our sympathy and whatnot. But when you were making all that money and rubbing shoulders with celebrities and titans of industry, you didn't think of us, so you didn't remember us. Point is, it is this freedom that has allowed me to have a good work-life balance. It's why I've done my podcast so well and so consistently over the years. It's why I look this good at 32, yo. It's why my mental health is amazing. I have been really, really intentional about the life I wanted to create for myself since day one. And thankfully, I was able to walk away from situations that didn't align. Fam, always be willing to walk away. Let's take a moment to pause and breathe. Relieve the tension. Whatever you're doing, close your eyes, take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's resume. Another thing I want to draw to your attention is the idea of being irreplaceable. This thread has popped up throughout the podcast this season, particularly in the King David Dynamic episode, the Philosopher's Stone episode, and the Game Within the Game episode. Clearly, this is something that I'm fascinated by, and with good reason. Because fam, they will tell you that no one is replaceable. I'm here to tell you that, yes, we are. And I say this not from a place of entitlement or pride or cockiness. I say it with all humility. When you're a pleasure to be around, when you add value through your skills and expertise, you become irreplaceable. You're so utterly unique in your space, and so they give you that grace. Most people don't have high standards. Most people don't have good work ethic. Most people lack personality or purpose. If you happen to have all those things, you will become irreplaceable whether they like it or not. They will depend on you whether they like it or not, and you will earn a sense of security wherever you find yourself. Just don't abuse the privilege or get full of yourself. You must stay invested, take the initiative, and take on new responsibilities. Continue to prove yourself. That's how you become and stay irreplaceable. When you negotiate your fees, you will do so from a place of strength. You will know your worth based on the unassailable value you have offered before, not some imaginary value that is yet to be seen or offered. This is the game within the game. I saw it firsthand all those many years ago. It's not like I was aiming at irreplaceability. I just came in young, eager to work, to impress, with a lot of maturity. And when I saw how that panned out, I understood. And I've had that effect ever since. So it's either you got it or you don't. But please, please try to got it. Do everything in your power to got it. Because the bottom is crowded and full of unremarkable people fighting for scraps, complaining about their job, their employer, their colleagues, their business partner, etc. They're not looking at themselves and the role they play in all these things. In the Power episode, I spoke about an aura that stops bullshit. Go listen to that episode. Link in the description. Develop that aura in yourself and you will see the world behave. Don't play. And that is the story about how I got my first client. And now that I think about it, I noticed that I have a good track record with my firsts, at least most of them. My first girlfriend, my first sexual experience, my first million, my first podcast episode, my first sponsor, my first tattoo. I could go on. May this streak long continue, because I have a lot of firsts coming in the future. My first book, my first international live show, my first marriage, my first child. And because I have a good track record, I'm fairly optimistic that those will work out too. Fingers crossed. If you want things to work out the first time, you gotta really come prepared emotionally, mentally, and professionally. You have to know your onions. You have to be intentional about things going well before anything starts. That's God. Because what God builds, God sustains. Remember? Nothing is certain, but play your part. You get. If you go into things blind, without a mental commitment to bring your best self to said thing, you leave it up to fate. And fate is a motherfucker. She does whatever she likes, and you will not like it. And so, there you have it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking this time with me and going on this journey. And I hope you find this episode worth listening to, worth sharing with your friends and fam. Heck, you might need to listen to it again because there's just so much listed across the episode. This is some good stuff, dare I say. I like how I put this all together. And as you prepare to re-listen, do leave a review and do check out the questionnaire if you're listening on Spotify. I would like to get your thoughts on that. My name is Rodney Omokache, and this is The Young God.
It's got talk. It's got talk. Let God talk.
It brings some excitement to the word of God.
Got talk.